as to where people will go, that's a big issue, and we have to solve that. And that's what we're here to do, and that's what the president has tasked us with.
And we're looking to a number of our allies, partners in the region. We have to collectively solve this problem.
So I wanted to do a video on Trump and the chaos he's been causing domestically. But before I do that, I should probably talk about more important issues because, you know, I don't want to say what I think about America as a country. Let's forget about that. In terms of what's happening with the Palestinian people, Trump came in and immediately agreed to ceasefire, and everyone was like, wow, you mean to tell me Trump's actually going to be better on the Palestinian issue than Biden? Whoa, who expected that? None of us, right? You know, the reporting around that was that he forced Netanyahu to accept a ceasefire because Netanyahu was going to refuse, and he, you know, cornered in and had a very stern conversation with him about what to do. I don't believe that narrative for a second. This is what usually happens in politics. When a new person comes in, they do this kind of, you know, massive PR moves that make it seem like, oh, we're actually going to be quite populist and to the left. Which again is funny because people always talk about how, you know, for example, America is shifting to the right because of Trump and stuff. But again, when they want to do popular things, it's always from the left, you know, because that's really what people want. People that are on the right and left, quote unquote, they all want leftist things, or what's traditionally thought of to be leftist things, which is a ceasefire, peace. You know, Trump ran initially saying, oh, I want to bomb the hell out of Hamas, they don't release hostages, blah, blah. You know, they've reached a negotiated settlement. A rational and sane position. But obviously, there was a massive concern from anyone that knows anything about politics that this is usually cover for something a lot more sinister. So politicians are very good at, you know, the magician's trick of show you the hand over here while my left hand is kind of undoing your shoelaces, or, you know, making away with your money or something like that. So I was wondering, what exactly will, you know, the giveaway or, you know, the clawback be? Especially when you remember that Trump's campaign was funded very heavily by, you know, pro-Zionist interests, specifically Mary Madelson, who's openly stated that one of her goals is for Israel to annex the entire West Bank and for the US to recognize Israeli sovereignty in occupied territory. So, you know, this person doesn't give you 100 million and you start disobeying them. That's not how politics works. You know, Trump answers to her, especially on, you know, the issue of Israel-Palestine. And so Trump came out, well, Trump's envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff, came out and said this.
This third is the buildings that could tip over at any moment. There's no utilities there whatsoever. No working water, electric, gas, nothing. God knows what kind of disease might be festering there. So when the president talks about cleaning it out, he talks about making it habitable, and this is a long-range plan. It's years on top of years. The disposal effort in Gaza is, we estimate, 3 to 5 years just to dispose of all the things before you can look down beneath the surface of the soil, and then before you get a master plan done. And the president is intent on getting it all done correctly. So to me, it is unfair to have explained to Palestinians that they might be back in 5 years. That's just preposterous. And well, as to where people will go, that's a big issue, and we have to solve that. And that's what we're here to do, and that's what the president has tasked us with.
And we're looking to a number of our allies, partners in the region. We have to collectively solve this problem.
So that was Steve Witkoff saying something that if the Nazi official or a Nazi official had said in the 1930s or 40s, that would have been grounds for him to be at The Hague with the rest of the Nazis, getting convicted for crimes against humanity, which is forced displacement. You know, we're going to forcibly remove people from their territory. Again, I'm not a Holocaust historian or anything, but part of the crimes, in fact, the first crime, one of the first crimes the Nazis were, you know, convicted of in the Holocaust was the forced deportation of the Jews to the death camps. So remember, obviously not all the Jews lived in Poland, which is Auschwitz is the most like memorable camp people know about. But a lot of them were from Hungary, or some were from Poland, from Russia, from Germany itself. There's a very great book I read called Orderly and Humane, which talks about the kind of displacement of the Germans, after what they did to the Jews. But that was a serious crime that formed part of the crime of eventually genociding the Jews. In 2025, the American president and his representative are now openly calling for the same things that was done to the Jews as part of the Holocaust against them. Just think about that for a moment. This happened to these people, and now they're about to do it to other people. I think there's a very good lesson there, which is like when we learn about historic injustices, slavery, for example. There's a very common misconception, especially amongst black people or usually minority peoples, that slavery was a unique white evil. But it just kind of shows that all these evils are not unique to any one person, and it wasn't like the way history works is not that one group, has been in continuous subjugation for since the history of time. History ebbs and flows. And so right now, nothing proves that more than the fact that just 70, 80 years ago, the Jewish people were under tremendous persecution by the Nazis, and now they're inflicting similar, even greater persecution as in the Palestinians, simply because at least eventually the Jews had a voice, that people came to their aid, and there was a whole world war about that. Not about that specifically, but you get what I mean. Whereas all the major power centers in the world right now are on the side of Israel. Anyone you can think of, the US, the Chinese are a major power, but they're not really that involved in this. The EU, if you want to put NATO in there, and not only that, Israel has gone to great lengths to make sure that Palestinian resistance and solidarity is destroyed, by exaggerating claims of anti-Semitism. So that also marginalizes not only the Palestinian people, who are the primary victims of this kind of subjugation and repression, but also people in the West. Israel has a very useful censorship program going on in the West, such that saying things that are true about Israel and what they're doing to the Palestinians, can land you in very, very serious trouble. And in fact, my dad has told me many times, to probably stop talking about this issue, because he knows like what could really happen to me, if I got big enough. Right now I think I'm probably like not too big of a channel, so maybe you and whoever's listening, I don't know, a few hundred people, maybe 1,000 if I do very well in this video. But generally speaking, the Palestinians really don't have a voice. And so obviously Trump is trying to present this as something that's going to be temporary, and we're just going to remove them so we can help them build up their land and make it look good, and build all our fancy apartments, maybe a Trump Tower, in central Gaza, and then we'll just have them come back. And I think the reporter asked Witkoff the question there, so where are they going to go? Yeah, we're still trying to work that out. I mean, Israel is just right there. They're the ones that did it to them. Why don't they go there? I mean, that is their homeland. Let's be honest. A lot of them are refugees from being expelled from, their historic homelands in Israel. Why didn't they go there? Why didn't they go to the West Bank? Because the West Bank is being torched and destroyed by settlers right now, who will continue to steal more land there and try and make that place uninhabitable for the Palestinians that live in the West Bank. We're speaking to our allies and partners. I imagine what's going to happen is they'll probably end up putting them in some massive camps in a desert somewhere, and who knows what's going to happen of them. A lot of them will probably apply for asylum in many other countries, and the population will be completely whittled down. But it's a very historical moment that we're living through right now, unprecedented, I should say, because I'm hoping that future generations are going to look back on this with incredible shame, because this is extremely immoral. And of course, Trump's plan and what Biden was going to go along with, Trump's plan is really Israel's plan. And it's something Biden was always going to go along with. So I can't really say Trump deserves any more ire, than Biden, because Biden was just kind of playing his role until Trump can come in and kind of seal the deal by doing what he's doing now. So we'll see how the UK, the country I live in, reacts to ethnic cleansing. Wow. I can't believe we're even saying that out loud. We'll see how they react to it. And then we'll see what happens. What does this do to, I guess the reputation of the West as some kind of moral authority is already being completely shattered. But, you know, we'll have to see what that does to that, because, you know, how exactly are we going to teach this in schools? I imagine we won't, because we don't teach any of our crimes in school, right? We just teach the crimes of other people. So truly unprecedented times. And, you know, Trump is probably the perfect person to kind of bring about this ethnic cleansing, because, you know, such a fraudulent person that he is, he can manage to, you know, deceive his gullible supporters into believing he somehow is pro-peace, because I guess they will see this as like, well, the bombs have stopped raining down, so we have peace, right? No, wrong. But anyway, I think I'll leave it there for now. Thank you for watching. We'll have to see how this kind of develops. I'll definitely be doing updates on this as the story develops.